Okay guys, welcome to another lesson of chemistry. So last time I said that today we're going to be looking at bonding. So last time I'm sure we looked at how to write chemical formulas and how to go about them. So today we're going to be looking at bonding. So bonding is defined as the joining of two atoms of an element. That is what bonding is. And it can also be defined as the combination of two or more atoms together. It can be also defined as the combination of two or more atoms together. That is what bonding simply is. Then, why do atoms bond? Atoms, guys, they simply bond because they need to be stable. Every atom has electrons in the outermost shell, and the outermost shell must have a maximum number of 8 electrons. So if an element, let's say an element in group 1 or an element in group 7 has 7 electrons in the outermost shell, so it needs 1 electron to be stable. And where will that electron come from? From a metal. That electron will come from a metal, and when a group 1 element and group 7 element, they react, an electron is transferred from the metal to the non-metal. That is why atoms bond. So if they react, they bond. Okay, so again, in order to have 8 electrons in the outermost shell. Okay, so guys, we have different types of bonding. So the first type of bonding is ionic bonding. The second type is covalent bonding, and the third type is metallic bonding. So we'll start by first looking at what ionic bonding is. Okay, so ionic bonding is a type of bonding that takes place between metals and non-metals. When a metal and a non-metal react, they form an ionic bonding. So example, the reaction between magnesium and oxygen. Since magnesium is a what? Is a metal, and oxygen is a non-metal. So when magnesium and oxygen react, they form an ionic bonding. And ionic bonding involves the transferring, this word is very important, the transferring of electrons from a metal to a non-metal. The transferring of electrons from a metal to a what? To a non-metal. From the word itself, ionic. So when this type of bonding is taking place, there are ions which will be formed, and we say that an ion is a charged particle. It can either be positive or what? Or negative. Then all metals, they form what? Positively charged ions. If they form a positive charged ion, which means they have lost an electron, and the non-metals, they form negatively charged what? Ions. Okay, so formation of ionic bond. Example number 1, magnesium oxide. So magnesium, mass number there 24, atomic number 12. The electronic configuration of magnesium 2,8,2. So magnesium is in group what? Is in group 2, because it has 2 electrons in the outermost shell. And magnesium is not stable here because there are 2 electrons in the outermost shell, and for an atom to be stable in the outermost shell, it should have a maximum number of 8 electrons. And oxygen mass number 16, atomic number 8, the electronic configuration 2,6 of oxygen. So the first step in writing the ionic bonding, first of all, let's draw the what? The shell of the atom of magnesium. So magnesium, it has 3 shells, the first, the second, and the third. So the first shell, which is this one, it occupies 2 electrons, 1, 2. The second shell, it occupies 8 electrons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And the last shell occupies 2 electrons. Okay, and oxygen, the first shell occupies 2 electrons, and the last shell occupies 6 electrons. And from the point I mentioned earlier, metals, they lose electrons to form a what? A positive charge, and non-metals, they gain electrons. Okay, so which means in order for oxygen here to have 8 electrons in the outermost shell, 2 electrons from magnesium must be transferred from magnesium to oxygen for oxygen to have 8 electrons in the outermost shell. Then a point to note here, metals, they are represented by the cross, which are these, and while non-metals by dots. So whenever you are writing an ionic bonding, the electrons for a metal, they must be represented by a cross, and for the non-metal, they must be represented by what? By a dot. Okay, so the last step, magnesium has lost 2 electrons, so which means the 2 electrons which magnesium has lost, they are in the outermost shell. So we won't draw the outermost shell because there are 0 electrons there, and the 2 electrons which have been lost, they have been transferred to oxygen, and magnesium here, it has formed a charge of 2 positive because it has lost 2 electrons, and oxygen has gained 2 electrons, so the charge of oxygen will be 2 minus or 2 negative. So this is how you can write an ionic bond. Okay, this is how you can write an ionic what? Bond. Very simple and straightforward. Okay.